Imagine a powerful leader. Let's call him Governor Thorne, a man who projected an image of unwavering integrity. His speeches were legendary, filled with promises of justice and transparency. But behind the scenes, a scandal was brewing. Public funds, millions of dollars meant for schools and hospitals, had vanished into thin air. Whispers started, pointing fingers directly at his inner circle, even his own family. The pressure was mounting. The public demanded answers. So, what does Governor Thorne do? Does he call for a truly independent investigation? Of course not. He announces, with great fanfare, the creation of a special commission to get to the bottom of it all. He declares, "We will spare no expense to find the truth and bring the guilty to justice." The media praises his decisive action. The public breathes a sigh of relief. Justice is coming, they think. But this was just the first act of an elaborate play. The independent commission was anything but. Thorne handpicked every single member. The chairman, his old law school buddy. The lead investigator, a former subordinate known for his loyalty, not his investigative skills. The rest of the committee was filled with political allies and donors who owed him favors. He wasn't building an investigation. He was building a wall to hide behind. He controlled the committee, he controlled the investigators, and most importantly, he controlled the story. The investigation began, but it was a carefully choreographed performance. They held public hearings, creating the illusion of transparency. They called witnesses, but only the ones whose testimony they could predict and control. The real evidence, the incriminating bank statements and secret ledgers, was mysteriously lost or deemed irrelevant. The investigators were given a very specific target: anyone but Thorne and his allies. And that's when the scapegoats were chosen. A few mid-level administrators, people with no real power or connections, were suddenly thrust into the spotlight. The commission, guided by Thorne's invisible hand, started leaking evidence against them to the press. Headlines screamed about their supposed incompetence and greed. Their careers were destroyed, their reputations shattered. They were the perfect sacrifices, just powerless enough to be blamed without being able to fight back. All the while, Thorne's relatives and key political cronies, the ones who had actually orchestrated the theft, were not just protected. They were publicly praised by the commission for their cooperation. To add another layer to this deception, Thorne announced a series of bold new anti-corruption laws. He held press conferences, detailing these sweeping reforms that would supposedly prevent such a thing from ever happening again. It was brilliant political theater. The public was distracted, focused on the shiny new laws, believing real change was happening. But these laws were intentionally written with loopholes so large you could drive a truck through them. They were designed to look good on paper, but were never meant to be seriously enforced. They were pure distraction, a smokescreen to cover the real crime. The commission's final report was a masterpiece of fiction. It concluded that a few low-level employees were responsible for the entire scandal due to gross negligence. It exonerated everyone in Thorne's inner circle, praising their leadership during the crisis. The guilty walked free, shielded by the very system that was supposed to expose them. The powerless were punished, their lives ruined to protect the powerful. For a time, it seemed like the perfect crime. Governor Thorne stood before the cameras, holding the report, a solemn look on his face. "Justice has been served," he declared. But truth has a funny way of surfacing, especially when it's been buried alive. While Thorne was busy celebrating his victory, a small group of people were working in the shadows. There was a junior accountant in the finance department. Let's call her Sarah. She had been troubled by the altered records she was forced to create. Fearing for her job, she had secretly made copies of the original documents before they were shredded. Then there was Mark, a disillusioned investigator on the commission itself. He had joined thinking he would be part of a real inquiry, but quickly realized it was a sham. He started documenting every order he received to ignore evidence, every conversation that pointed towards a cover-up. These weren't powerful people. They were ordinary citizens who simply couldn't stomach the lie. Sarah, the whistleblower with the hard evidence, found an investigative journalist who was known for digging deep and refusing to back down. Mark, the inside source, provided the context, explaining exactly how the cover-up was orchestrated from the top down. Slowly, piece by piece, the real story began to emerge, not in the government-controlled newspapers, but online, in independent blogs and through a handful of courageous journalists. The initial trickle of information soon became a flood. Sarah's documents, the unaltered bank transfers, showed a clear trail of money leading directly to companies owned by Governor Thorne's brother-in-law. Mark E.'s secret recordings caught Thorne as chief of staff instructing investigators to focus on the administrators and leave the governor as family out of it. The evidence was undeniable and explosive. The man who had pretended to be the ultimate seeker of justice was now revealed as the one hiding from it. His carefully constructed narrative crumbled. The public, once supporters, now felt betrayed and furious. The commission he created to be his shield was now exposed as his sword, used to attack the innocent. The very foundations of his power, built on a mountain of lies, began to tremble. Corruption, you see, is like a termite infestation. It can eat away at the core of an institution from the inside, unseen for a long time. But eventually, the structure becomes so weak that it collapses under its own weight. Thorne's carefully masked intentions were now laid bare for all to see. His political allies, sensing his imminent fall, began to distance themselves. The investigators he had controlled turned on him, trying to save their own skins. The very power he had abused to protect himself was now gone. Integrity is not a cloak you can put on and take off. You can fake it for a while. You can put on a good show, but you can't fake it forever. Governor Thorne's fall was swift and total. He was forced to resign in disgrace, and the real investigation, the one he had tried so desperately to prevent, finally began. His empire, built on deceit, had destroyed itself. It is a powerful lesson. Those who weaponize justice to protect themselves often end up being its most prominent victim. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the dynamics of power and truth. See you next time.